So I would request each of the panel members, starting from Zafar Bhai first, to really define the real contour of this topic. And then we'll try to expand as much as possible within the time boundaries. Zafar Bhai. The mic is not on, I think.
Hello. Hello. Yeah?
Yeah, I think.
See, my feeling about reinventing or any change, I don't think it is required. In fact, I'm not an educationist among all of them. I've been a businessman all my life, but I had a chance to be Chancellor of Maulana Azad National Urdu University, and where I came across students, and also because all my life I have interviewed youth for jobs. I've been seeing that change. About 10 years back, the people whom we used to interview, and I've interviewed mostly engineering graduates. And the first thing I would ask them to give them vernier caliper and tell them to measure it, and they won't be able to do it. BCom, they would not know credit and debit. So the problem about 10 years back or 15 years back was that our youth which were coming out from the university were unemployable. And that's why, a lot of Infosys and, so many of them, they had to bring them and train them for 1 year. But that change now I am seeing in last 10 years, that present day youth are much more aware of their subjects than what we were in our times. So that change is happening. And when I became the Chancellor, and I always felt that what was the problem? When the vernier caliper or a guy of BCom not knowing about debit and credit was that they did not study the syllabus itself. That was the problem with our youth. Because they would, last moment, just एक महीना पहले किताब लेके बैठना और एग्जाम के लिए या एग्जाम में क्या आता है. So they were not studying the syllabus. And when I started looking minutely the syllabus, I thought our syllabus is absolutely perfect. There is no problem in that. But then, when I went more deeper into that, then we have that class. Like I'm an engineer. I did my engineering from government polytechnic diploma, and then I did my degree. Now the engineering syllabus of an ordinary college or of IIT is same. The mathematics which they teach you in a normal government college and the mathematics which is taught in IIT is same. But why on earth the student from IIT excels in life and why he remains where he is? Same for management. And I am graduate and a graduate of management from ordinary institute. So that equal opportunity to excel about life, about so many things are not available to those youth. So what I did, sir, you were in Maulana Azad. I mean, I was a chancellor, so I told the Prime Minister, sir, मुझे ये क्यों आप भेज रहे हो? मैं करूँगा क्या? इसलिए कि मुझे किसी ने बता दिया था कि चांसलर का काम साल में 2 मरतबा आने का, एक बार कॉन्वोकेशन के टाइम पे आना, बाकी तो फिर तो कहा नहीं, तुम पहले चांसलर होगे जो कुछ करोगे. तो इसलिए जब मैं चांसलर बना और पहली मीटिंग हुई तो वाइस चांसलर साहब मेरे पड़ोस में बैठे थे. तो मैंने कहा देखिए बहुत गलत आदमी आ गया आपके पास, इसलिए कि हमने कारोबार किए हैं, खरीदे हैं, चलाए हैं, बेचे हैं. तो हमारे वालिद ने बचपन से एक कहानी सुनाई थी नादिर शाह की, कि उसने बड़ा प्लंडर किया था, हिंदुस्तान पे हमला किया और लोग परेशान हो गए थे उससे कि हो क्या रहा है, बादशाह को ठंडा कैसे किया जाए. तो हाथी की सवारी मंगाई गई लाल किले पे और कहा कि बादशाह सलामत. ये हाथी इसलिए कि वो ईरान से आया था, उसने हाथी नहीं देखा था. तो जब हाथी पे बैठा, कहा कि बैठो, हाथी पर बिठाया, तो जैसे बैठा उसने कहा कि इसकी लगाम कहाँ है? तो कहा कि बादशाह सलामत, ये जो है हाथी है, इसकी लगाम नहीं होती, महावत चलाते। वो फौरन उतर गया अपने घोड़े पर और उसने कहा कि नादिर अली शाह ऐसी सवारी पे सवार नहीं करता जिसकी लगाम उसके हाथ में ना हो। तो मैंने कहा आपको एक गलत वाइस चांसलर मिला है, वो ऐसी सवारी पे सवार नहीं करता जिसकी लगाम हाथ, यानी मैं चांसलर और चलाओ आप, ये नहीं होगा। तो मैंने 3 साल खूब चलाया और वहां मैंने ये देखा कि भाई इस यूनिवर्सिटी और आईआईटी में क्या फ़र्क है। तो मैं बहुत सारी चीज़ें लेकर आया बच्चों के, मैंने उनको रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया दिखाई, उनको बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियों में लेकर गया कि भाई ये बच्चों को पता ही नहीं है। तो मैं समझता हूँ कि हमारे सिलेबस में या कहीं पर भी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, हमको उनको जो है, जो आईआईटी के या आईआईएम के बच्चों को मिलता है, अगर वो देना शुरू कर दें तो ये बच्चे भी वही चीज़ देंगे आपको जो वहाँ देते हैं। बस ये है मेरा।
Thank you, thank you. I think Zafar Bhai, you touched upon the contextual nature of the problem. So you described yourself as a chancellor in a context and tried to visualize how students were different from what they are today and how current students can move on further into glorious world. So I think that was a contextual situation. So I would request Professor Basu to elaborate his views on this.
See, I partially agree with what Zafar Bhai has just said, that at some level, contextually, we probably don't need to do much. But I think what is the bigger approach that we need to do is change the mindset, and that is, I think, the biggest reinvention that we need to do. We don't need to we need to reinvent the syllabus because things are developing. So those are natural changes that will happen. What I studied 30 years back is kind of dated, and if I don't keep updated, I will be out of focus and out of date. That updation will have to happen. That's not really the thing. But to a large number of our students and the youth who come in, the problem is that even today, they come to study a subject not because they like the subject, but because their parents want them to study that subject. And I think that is a mindset that we need to change and reinvent. I could not become an engineer, just as an example, and therefore I want my children to become engineers, irrespective of the fact they might have their preferences, their aptitude, and they would do really well in a lot of other subjects. I think that is the biggest mindset change that we have. And today, we live in a world where alternatives exist. 30, 40 years back, what jobs did you get in the country if you were not an engineer or a doctor? Then you were self-employed effectively. And the industry was small. Today, think of the kind of jobs that exist. With perfect respect, 10 years back, who would have thought that radio jockeys and all these kinds of job opportunities would arise and they would be such celebrities and really successful people in life. So today that model has changed, and I think our biggest reinvention should be to kind of reorient people to understand that just one or two things is not the life. There is a much larger canvas to play with.
Thank you, Professor Basu. I think you really set the tone. We'll elaborate on this particular theme as we proceed further within the limited time. I would sum up some of these ideas in a broader context after I hear from Dr. Kattimani Garu.
Thank you. Good evening. I express my thanks to the organizers to invite me. It's an interesting subject that reinventing the world,
which is everything.
It's related to my university. Earlier, I led one tribal university. Now, again, I'm in the process to establish another one tribal university in India, second tribal university in India. We have 10.4 crore tribes in India. Half of them are never seen the face of the school. First half might have seen the face of the school, but their knowledge system says they are all educated. They are all educated. So, to educate ourselves, is it necessary to go to school? Is it necessary to study the particular subject, the particular language, the particular teacher? It is not. It is not. I will take one example of medicinal practices of tribes of India, maybe around 200 plus tribes. They have their own methods to treat them. They are not going to doctors. They have their own gunyas, medicinal practitioners. Once the medicinal practitioner will give the medicine, next time, while giving, he will explain what is this process, what type of creeper, what type of bark, what type of roots, and they will exactly next time, second time, they will follow and they will give it to the people. The thing is, we have to, the science, technology, it is our responsibility, trained scientists. We can call ourselves trained scientists, and that is natural scientist. It is the responsibility of the trained scientist. Our chair is a trained scientist, renowned scientist, that it is not their responsibility to prove that it is scientific. According to them, it is scientific because they are, since 1,000 years together, they are using that. It is the duty of the science, the duty of the scientist to bring this medicine, the scientist, to our lab, make him or her as our co-investigator scientist, and we have to investigate, and the due credibility should be given to her or him. This is the reinventing the world, and by doing so, again, our Prime Minister will come in the picture. You know, he is fond of talking. The lab should address the problems of the land, the power of the research, the science of land, who are available, the strength is available in land, should come to lab. So there must be a relation, coordination between land and lab. It's only possible if everybody's participation means not only educated, not only trained scientists like you all, the natural scientists, they doesn't know what they are doing. They never put a board that PhD or doctor or gunya or vaid, but they are practicing these medicines which tribes, which mothers of all society who are practicing. It is cheap. Sometimes it is zero expenditure and zero side effect. Thank you.
So, Dr. Kattimani garu, I think you really brought out the essence of being part of the tribal world and also being part of knowing all. So, just to summarize and integrating all the views, I feel we are at a very, very exciting transition times now, where almost everything is available at our fingertips to address most complex problems, both scientific, natural sciences, as well as social. And we are at the same time unable to grapple with them. There is a contradiction in what we are seeing in the present times. Now, I don't know how much of the current youth realizes that this is a very, very exciting moment for them to seize the moment and use the knowledge content that has been generated by technology as well as the knowledge depth to solve the societal problems. I think they are not able to grasp the gravity of the situation because of all the factors that we have just touched upon. I think we have not given them the tools and the insights that are required to look at the problem in its gory details and come out with solutions. All our contents, syllabus contents, examination contents, etc., have remained as contents. We have to now reinvent these contents into concepts and insights. Everything is available. If as teachers, as societal leaders, if we are able to transform this content into concepts and insights in young minds, I think they will really come up with very important or very insightful solutions for the future. And now the most interesting part of this whole paradigm is the knowledge base, the content base is interconnected. You can see it. The multidisciplinarity and the global connectivity, etc., are opening up many, many possibilities. Except that in our education systems, we have kept everything caged up within the boxes. If the new invention from the old can really unleash it, open up the boxes and expose them to the real problems and real knowledge content, many solutions are possible. Can I ask my panel discussants to touch upon how to unleash this power of knowledge, this power of technology towards the betterment of future, towards the societal real solutions in science or outside science?
See, what you said, I'll give you really what we have been doing. Because see, I was a businessman who was appointed a chancellor. So it was something, people had written story that a car dealer ko chancellor bana diya. That was the headline. So, because I was always, mixing what I have seen in life, in business, what is being lagged by the students and how to match that. So we started this initiative called Education to Entrepreneurship. I have come across, by moving the country, meeting people, I know that we have got everything available. We don't need anything from outside. But the problem is, where it is available and where it is required, there is a mismatch. Now, for example, I was thinking what to give to these youth. So my idea was that these youth who are in the third year, and who are doing their masters, and I am somebody who has been an investment banker. So what do I give them? Some plus. So I always used to think that whenever I move, in our society, like a doctor, for example, or an engineer, he is expert doctor, expert engineer, but in finance he is zero. So I would always see our society as financially illiterate. Means most of the people, they don't know what is finance. So we thought that let's take this. Then second was capital market, stock market, because I've been there, and I always feel that this Sensex is 20,000 or 35,000 or 50,000 is known only to a very small section of our society. And I would always wonder that we, a population of 1.3 billion, we have not more than 10 million demat accounts. So what are we talking about? Because large section of our society doesn't even know what the capital market is. And third, I thought that, we have these ideas which have become business now in last 10, 15 years. For example, Twitter or a Facebook or a Google, it was an idea. It became business. We also have some small now coming like Flipkart or Zomato. So I was always wondering that our youth also get idea. But their idea evaporates because we don't have a system to take hold of those ideas. So how do we do that? So I managed to mismatch this, and we started a workshop. And we started calling it Education to Entrepreneurship. So what I did is I did not reinvent anything. I only brought what is available. For example, for financial literacy, I brought State Bank, Union Bank and Central Bank of India. You'll be surprised, their training academies are best in the world. But they are there at one corner. So I brought them and I said, send 2 people of yours for these programs. Capital market, you'll be surprised, Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange, both of them, they have world-class training academies. I have not seen these training academies even in New York. So I said, you give your people and we'll teach them. And for entrepreneurship, I brought TIE, the Indus entrepreneur, and they are spread across the country. We don't know. In Chennai, there must be at least 20 or 15 such who can teach you how to become entrepreneur. So I only gathered all of them And we set aside this program. And now in last 7 years, we have done in 55 cities. Now I'll tell you what is inbuilt available in our country. We did 2 years back a program in Ayodhya. People go to Ayodhya for Ram Mandir or Babri Masjid. I went for financial literacy. In fact, I brought the Hanuman Gadi Mahant also on the stage as one of the guests, and he said, हम अयोध्या वासी जफर सरेशवाला का शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहिए, इसलिए कि जो यहाँ आया है या तो उसने हिंदू मुसलमान की बात की है या राम मंदिर बाबरी मस्जिद की बात की है। ये पहला आदमी है जो हमारे बच्चों को फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी, कैपिटल मार्केट और कारोबार कैसे करना सिखा रहा है। सो अ वेरी hinterland. 2 youth from that engineering college came to me. You know, they had developed an app. Now, this is in Ayodhya. They had developed an app. Normally, you know, in WhatsApp, you can only send, you can only send a video for 1 minute and 38 seconds. They had developed an app where you can send 5-minute video. When you send it, it squeezes and it goes to you, it opens up. I took them to the bank. I said, 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh रुपए चाहिए इनको, थोड़ा, you know, तिनके का सहारा, kind of. And then I had Bombay Stock Exchange. I said, go to their incubation center. They went there and they have developed that app. So this is available in our country. We need to match that. Their intelligence and the availability of resources. If we do this, then we don't need anything in the world. We are the best.
Thank you, Zafar Bhai. I know you are in a little bit of a hurry, so we'll move on to Professor Basu. If you can give some insights of how to make the transition in the best possible manner and bring in your experiential field in this, if you can.
I think I have a slightly different view. I think the problem is that over the years, we have been very siloed in and that has happened in the last maybe 50, 60, maybe 100 years, I don't know, but very siloed in whatever we have studied. In a sense, the new education policy has been trying to break some of that. And some of the newer universities, including Ahmedabad University where I am, we try that. Where we say in the first year, you study whatever you're supposed to, but the first year, there are about 6 credits or 9 credits where you do what is called as a foundation course. So it doesn't matter what discipline you want to study. You have to do things on constitution and governance, water and biology, which like water, poverty, and it is experiential learning. So this is like a foundation where you're there in a class with all students, 1 month each. You go out on the ground and it's entirely project based. This is not going to make anybody an expert in this field, but this will sow the seeds that they'll have another 3.5 years to study their discipline. But this will make them interdisciplinary, the argument that they will now know that there's a much larger space out there to think about. You know, there are interlinkages. People, and just take half a minute to kind of highlight this, how some people came back and said, an interesting argument came up from one study that people who went into looking at a water studio. So one part of the water studio is students have to go to different parts of the city, particularly the underdeveloped parts of the city, collect water samples and test for the water purity and all that. That's a biological, the scientific part of it. The social learning from that was that why are women and children typically absent at school, and the implication of that, because that is when they learned that most places don't have continuous water supply. So water has to be collected. Who collects the water? Typically the female, the mother and the girl child. Because of our male-dominated society and all that, unfortunate as it is, ma'am, but that's how it is. And then the lack of proper toilet and those kinds of facilities, all of this kind of lead to the fact that they are so disadvantaged, they don't really have the time to come into this formal system. Now, no amount of preaching, standing in a lectern will ever convince anybody who's not seen this firsthand to understand this. And I think that is where the real change will actually have to be brought in, that you need to make people experience it to understand. Again, this is not to make them experts. They're not going to become sociological experts. But even the understanding and the realization will take them a long way.
Thank you, Professor Basu. I'm sure Dr. Kattimani Garu will bring in some special perspective.
I have one small story to tell. See, as a tribal university vice chancellor, once I traveled in a thick forest. There were some children were playing. I picked one boy and said, "Chalo hum baat karte hain." We have gone into the thick forest. Then I started talking to him as a vice chancellor. Do you know English? He said no. Do you know mathematics? He said no. Do you know chemistry? He said no. Do you know Hindi? I don't know. Then I said, तुम्हारा जीवन पूरा व्यर्थ हो गया. You have spoiled your life. तब तक there was a शेर दहाड़ने की आवाज आई. तो वो लड़का इमीडिएटली पेड़ चढ़ा और वहां से पूछा, वीसी साहब, डू यू नो द आर्ट ऑफ क्लाइंबिंग द ट्री? आई सेड नो. तो अभी आप मर जाएंगे. ये है. Another one ethos in tribal communities, aparigraha. It is in Jainism also. What is that aparigraha? They were owners of forest, they were owners of forest water bodies, they were owners of minerals before English people. Even at the time of Mughal period also, they were the owners. But they never claimed record of right, ownership, and never spoiled the resources. Whenever somebody will ask, you can utilize these things, they used to tell, no. Our Purkhe, ancestors has given us to protect it because we are not the owners, we are trustees. These minerals, these resources are for futuristic people. Education must be like this. Education must not be driven market and business oriented. Thank you.
Thank you. So finally, as Vice Chancellor of a very large central university, I want to propose a model which we are trying to implement at our own university. And the model is the following. If you look at the construct of a society, any society, you will have a very, very broad base of about 90-95% population who are essentially parts of the engine. However, you will have a top 1 to 2 percentile who will push the envelope, who are the discoverers, who are the innovators, who actually bring new things to the society. The remaining 90-95% being parts of the cog wheel who run the engine. We need the entire system, both the bulk system as well as the innovators. So any educational program, the new educational policy or the future versions of it should essentially preserve enough talent pool to run the engine, the broad base, within the educational programs and in the societal programs, who are the disciplined force, who are the engines, who really make things happen, the drivers. But at the same time, education system should also liberate the minds so that the top 1 percentile innovators get generated. Innovators typically come out not from the educational institutions, not from the box, but outside the box. So the institutions such as university should be a box as well as outside the box. That means we need to have a porous box of sorts. New education policy essentially provides that opportunity because students can join, undergraduate students, bright students can join and pick up their curricula, their subjects in a menu which is interest driven, not peer driven, not parents driven. So therefore, they can learn many things of what they want to learn. They can learn in the classroom by going through the curricular based teaching. They can learn outside the classroom by tutorials, by interactions, by doing practicals, by doing internships. So you see that the richness of the box, which sustains the bulk of the system, and the requirements of innovators of new ideas that happen outside the box, both are preserved in the new education policy. If we do this intelligently, perhaps we will generate enough work pool, enough skill pool, enough intelligence pool that can sustain new innovations and new drivers. I think all of our panel members essentially brought in their perspectives to take care of this distribution. And I think in that sense, the old will get newly invented for the new needs of the society. So these are really exciting times, and therefore new opportunities that are coming up are really the point that the youth have to really harness very well. And therefore, in that sense, this topic was very, very relevant, and I hope the panel discussions made some sense for the youth to take home. Thank you very much.